إنسان كاملا في المسيح يسوع.
مساء الخير أعزائي المشاهدين، وحلقة جديدة من برنامج مصدر ثقة. النهاردة هنكمل سلسلة الانتخابات الأمريكية لعام 2024، والنهاردة عايزة المشاهدين اللي ساكنين في السيتيز اللي هقول عليها دلوقتي ركزوا معانا قوي، عشان معانا النهاردة السيناتور بتاع الستيت بتاعهم اللي هي مرشحة نفسها للمرة التانية عن السيتيز دي. السيتي اللي هقول اسمها دلوقتي هي جزء من سان برناردينو كاونتي وريفرسايد كاونتي. يعني هقول أسامي السيتيز: في هيمت، أبل فالي، يوكايبا، بومونت، بالم سبرينجز، كاثيدرال سيتي، لاكوينتا، ريدلاندز، بانينج، ديزرت هوت سبرينجز، لوما ليندا، رانشو ميراج، يوكا فالي، هايلاند، بارستو، 29 بالمز، جراند تراس، كاليميسا، كولتون، إنديان ويلز and بيج بير ليك. النهاردة هتشرفني السيناتور أوتشوا بوغ. Today, I have the honor of introducing a dedicated public servant who has been tirelessly working for the people of California, Senator Rosillcie Ochoa Bogh. Senator Ochoa Bogh represents California's 23rd district and is currently running for re-election in the newly drawn 19th district. Senator Ochoa Bogh embodies the American dream. Having grown up as a daughter of Mexican immigrants, she was raised with the value of personal responsibility and hard work. Throughout her time in the state Senate, Senator Ochoa Bogh has introduced legislation to fight the fentanyl crisis, expand job opportunities, make housing more affordable, and protect parental rights as well as our children. I have had the pleasure of having Senator Ochoa Bogh on the show before, and I am thrilled to have her here again today to discuss her work and efforts in supporting and representing Californians in Sacramento. Welcome, Senator Ochoa Bogh. I'm so happy you're here today.
Oh, Dahlia, it is an absolute pleasure to be here with you today, and thank you so much for the opportunity to come and address your audience.
Thank you. Senator, let's start by sharing a little about your background and how it shaped your career in public service. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, I'm a daughter of immigrant parents who came to this country to achieve the American dream, always understanding that the value of education was important and having a work ethic and ensuring that you had that passion to, have personal values of responsibility in that space. So we grew up between U.S. and Mexico, between the state of Yucatan in Mexico and here between California, Hawaii, and Florida. But I've been in California steadily since 1991. Married my husband. But all of those opportunities I worked as a teacher. So after I finished college, I went and worked as a teacher, teaching English language learners. That experience right there, as well as being an English language learner myself, growing up, learning English within the school system here in the United States, really has put a foundation in the lens in which I view a lot of the educational policies in Sacramento. I also worked as a real estate agent in here in California since 2002. That has also really, as you are independent brokers when you are independent, not brokers, but we're considered to be like a small business independent,
Yes.
working under a broker. And we've been doing that since 2002. So that has also put a perspective on legislation and policy with regards to affordability in housing, the availability of housing, and construction. I also come from a family. My husband comes from a family that has his father has owned his construction company for 40 years here in the state of California. So small businesses, my father as well was a small business owner with his sisters, owning several Mexican restaurants here in California. So all of those life experiences, working and navigating the education, working as an experience as an English language learner, daughter of immigrant parents, small business owners, the real estate market and housing, all of those life experiences have really given me a lens through which I view and analyze legislation in California to see how it impacts our ability to prosper here in California. And I'm going to add also the fact that as a parent, as a very engaged parent, I also have a very keen perspective as to the policies, the legislation that's being considered in California, in Sacramento, that I believe have been a threat to the autonomy of families in California. So I also come in with a very strong and passionate voice when it comes to protecting our parental rights and our ability to raise our children in the way that we believe is the right way to raise our children, and limiting the influence that the state has on our children. And I think that there's a huge threat to that component here in the state of California.
Yes, that's great. So this is what inspired you to make the shift from a career in education to politics?
Very interesting. So going from my personal professional life into governance or politics, as some people might want to refer, it was a very organic transition for me. It wasn't something that I said, I'm going to run for school board or I'm going to run for state senate. For me, it was just opportunities that developed because I had been volunteering in so many capacities that brought the attention of the work that I had been doing to people that were electeds. And from there, they when the opportunities came to find candidates that represented their community, that knew their community, that had served within their community, then that's when, my name had been brought up as not as a candidate, as a possibility for a candidate to, one, apply for an appointment on the school board where I originally began with. Mm-hmm. And that came because I had volunteered in different capacities within the school district. The superintendent knew who I was. One of the fellow board members, or several of the full board members of the school district, knew the work that I had done within the school district and within our community. And so when the opening came, they asked whether or not I would consider filling in application in order to be appointed. And lo and behold, I was one of 7 candidates, and I was blessed to be appointed to the school board, which was a surprise for me because I felt there were better candidates, but more academically or professionally prepared. Mm-hmm. And it was interesting to know that they wanted a different voice on the board, and it was a great experience. I loved it. And from that, also prepared me for the opportunity with the other volunteer positions that I had working legislatively in the board with realtors, in the Chamber of Commerce, all of that. When the position for the Senate seat came available, because my predecessor had been termed out, they were looking for a candidate that would fit the district, and based on the experiences that I had, they thought that I would be a good fit for the district, and that's how they reached out and asked, well, would you consider? But I did. It wasn't something that I took. Wasn't something that I did just lightheartedly. I mean, it took almost a month of, as a woman of faith, fervent prayer and discussions with my family, my husband, and my children to see whether or not it was something that we could do as a team, because with a position like this, especially in the Senate or in the Assembly, and especially in the Senate because of the amount of work that goes into being a senator, it's something that you have to have the support of your family behind you. Otherwise, it would be very, very difficult for you professionally, and then personally within your family, it would be very difficult to do a good job.
Parental rights in education have been a hot topic lately. So, Bill 1955 was recently passed by Governor Newsom, which allows a school to keep secrets from parents about their children. Can you provide an update on the approval status of the AB 1955? And I know you are one of the senators who opposed this bill.
We did, yes, I did, and I spoke with great concerns for the bill on the Senate floor when it was introduced on the Senate floor. It had passed education. I saw it in education as well. But I'm really great concern because of the messaging that was being carried by the bill, AB 1955. This particular bill was sold by the author and the supporters of the bill as something that was going to protect children from being outed, to just outed, which means that, their sexuality would be disclosed publicly. Interestingly enough, when you look at the language of the bill, the intent of AB 1955, it was addressing the bills or the bill or the decisions by many school boards that stated that if a child in the school asks the school district or their school to use a different pronoun, if it's a female and you want to be addressed by they,
or a different name,
or he's, or a different name, or a she, whatever it means, you want to do it because the schools wanted to inform the parent.
Yes.
So the outing technically meant informing the parent about the desire of the child to use a different pronoun or a different name.
Yes.
That's all. It wasn't that they were trying to let the whole school know or let the whole world know or anybody outside. It was specifically the parent.
Oh,
but the bill just said outing, disclosing it to the parent. And it had nothing to do with the sexuality of the child, most importantly. The bill did not have to do with the sexuality of the child, but had to do with regards to the pronouns or the names. Reason being is that usually social transitioning, which is what happens when you use a different pronoun or a different name, usually is attributed to gender dysphoria. Gender dysphoria has been known, data shows that children suffering from gender dysphoria are usually more inclined to commit suicide, have behavioral health problems, and have they have a propensity to begin medical treatments or have the potential to pursue medical treatments which have long-term effects. So parents in many school districts said, if my child is asking to be referred by a different pronoun, then I have a right to know, because that means that my child will most likely require behavioral health, counseling services, guidance, and more of an I, right?
Yeah.
And the legislature came in and lumped everything together and said, no, you're outing child sexuality. You're outing children publicly before they're ready and right, to know. And there was a discrepancy in messaging there that was not quite accurate. School districts only were requiring that, it addressed gender dysphoria, pronouns. And the argument in the courts, by the way, that there was a previous court case that had been decided with regard to the policy in school district that stated, the court said that once a child decided to use a different pronoun or a different name publicly in the school, then their right of privacy had been obsolete. Because there is no privacy, right? Because they're public, they're outing themselves publicly. So if they're outing themselves publicly, why wouldn't the parent have a right to also know that they're using a different pronoun and or name in the school? School. So that's the discrepancy that we had, and what the bill was trying to address is saying, nope, you can't, lumping everybody together, the gay community and the gender dysphoric community together in one bill, saying you cannot inform the parents with regards to their gender identity nor their sexuality.
So, Senator, I have seen your dedication to protecting parental rights. When I went to Sacramento to support your bill, like I saw your passionate advocate and even tearing up when a senator opposed it. And you tried hard to pursue them, but the bill didn't pass. So, given these outcomes, do you have another bill? Do you have another plan to continue protecting our parental rights?
Absolutely. I will continuously have an eye to protect our rights as parents to raise our children. You know, this year there were a couple of bills that I introduced. One had to do with ensuring that we had materials that were appropriate for children, creating a legal definition for materials that are being produced or introduced or exposed to in schools, elementary, junior high, or high school. Oh, actually, I didn't touch high school because high school is the way that the school districts think. That would be a beast to tackle, but at least protect our elementary and our junior high.
From 4 to 16 years or 13 years old.
And we could not get a simple bill that provided a legal definition that protects student or children outside of the schools, you know, within our communities and society. We couldn't get that same legal definition within our school boundaries when it came to reading. And that to me was an eye-opening, because the testimonies, as you remember, you were present, and thank you for coming to Sacramento and voicing your opinion, representing the Arabic voice in Sacramento and your many residents within the state about your opposition to many of these bills. But it takes that pressure. It's being informed and ensuring that you as a parent, you as a representative of your community, and any representative or any parent has the right and has the opportunity to come to Sacramento, speak to your local assembly member, your local senator, and let them know, listen, I don't support this bill and this is why, or I support this bill and this is why. But it's incredible to see how good bills protecting our children's innocence is not being supported. Not being supported in the state of California.
I cried that day.
And that's when you know that it doesn't matter how much data you bring, how many, very factual, very logical. In this case, we were bringing in literally legal code and definitions that's already being used within this, outside of the school district, within the school district. It didn't matter what we did. They already had an agenda. That they did not want to have any limitations or considerations or protections for children when it came to material. And I don't want to talk about the content, but let me assure you that many of the graphics that we have in some of these books, under the guise, and this is what's important that people need to understand, under the guise of biographical novels. Biographical novels. So many novels that are considered biography, like my story. Let me tell you my story about, being LGBTQ growing up. And literally detailed graphic sexual imagery being included in these books are being justified as, he goes, these are biographical novels. I want the public to really think about that premise and how dangerous that is and how it opens the gamut and literally a can of worms, per se, of literally anything goes within our school districts at any age level. It is horrific, and parents should be aware. That's why my passion is, I'm on fire. I'm on fire right now to inform individuals. And I try to do it in a very logical and sensical way. I don't want this to be contentious. I don't want this to be divisive, because it shouldn't be. It should just be common sense.
It's from your heart.
Common sense.
It's from your heart.
It is definitely from my heart.
Yeah.
It's common sense for protecting our children.
Yeah.
And I think we just have to be very loud in informing parents, because the majority, up until probably the last 2 years, parents really weren't aware.
Yeah.
My eyes are open now in the system that we have in California, where literally we keep our parents, really busy working 2, 3, 4 jobs because it's so costly to live in the California, right? The systems that the California state government has created has made California so expensive that parents have to work so much, and they're hardly home, or it's very difficult to be a parent. So what happens is that we're depending so much on school systems to educate our kids, to care for our kids, and even upbring our kids. And then they have an agenda of what your kids should think and how they think, what values they should have, what they should be encouraged to embrace, that don't necessarily reflect the values of the families at home. And so they're creating a dissonance between parents and children, and a conflict. I'm seeing that with our youth. I'm seeing that systemically as being created with policy, with legislation being passed. And that is of great concern. Now that my eyes are open, let me tell you, I'm on fire to ensure that people know how the process works with legislation, how to have your voice voiced in Sacramento. As you came, Dahlia, I was so happy that this was your first time in Sacramento.
Yeah, it was an honor for me to come. Yeah,
it was wonderful to have you in Sacramento, and you to see the process, being in committee, discussing the bill, the comments that are being made, right?
Yeah.
That the audience don't normally.
I wish everyone can go.
Exactly.
I wish everyone can go.
But even if they can't go, I wish they could watch it.
Watch it. Yeah.
And you can watch it online.
Yeah.
But as I said, many people are busy working, right? And they don't have the time to just sit down and watch the committee hearings, listen to the arguments. I think that's the most important part. If you listen to the reasoning and the rationale for many of these bills, I think many of your audience would go, wow, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
No way. You
no
didn't
way.
just say that.
This is what happened to me that day. But Senator, let me give you the credit. All the credit. Like, as a community, Arabic community, we don't know anything about it until the first interview I had with you.
And that's what brings me joy and gives me hope in doing this job. I'm only one of 8 Republicans in the state of California in the makeup of the legislation. This is not political. This is just government 101 for the state of California, right? We have the governor. We have 40 senators. I am one of 40 senators and one of 8 Republicans with 32 Democrats. And so we're not directing the legislation and the thought process when it comes to the California. And they've had the majority in the Senate for 40 years.
Of course, we can't stop talking about parental rights, but we have limited time. So I need to ask you more questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go now. You recently spoke with regards to concern about the CPU instituting a flat fee of $24 and adjusting fee the one's income. Can you tell us more about this bill?
Yes. So this came about because I've been really concerned about the cost of living in the state of California.
Right.
How do we lower the cost of living? How do we address the cost of living in the state of California? Well, first, we have to understand what factors actually attribute to the cost of living in California, such as the taxes that we pay in the state of California. I would love for your audience to one day sit down and write down how much they pay in taxes when it comes to their income, what they make at the state and federal level. What are they paying as far as their taxes go? And you're the expert when it comes to the taxes, right? So you can tell your audience, sit down and think about how much you pay in taxes, all your fees, your property taxes, your sales taxes, your fees when it comes to your fees,
even sales taxes,
your sales taxes, but also your DMV fees, right? Your registration for your cars. All of those are taxes. Sit down and think about what you're going to pay, and then you have your utility taxes, right? You have your gas taxes, you have utility bills that you pay. All of them have all of these bills. Well, right now, with our utilities, the California Commission or the California Commission or Public Utilities Commission came out with a new idea on how to pay and address the fees for Californians.
Good.
Within that component, they had a flat fee of $24 and being based on people's income. And so the biggest concern that I had there was, one, a flat fee of $24 is a lot for many, many Californians. Number two, it disincentivizes people on the lower tiers of income from really trying to conserve energy because you don't have to pay as much as somebody else. There's no level or flat level or equal level of accountability when it comes to your energy use.
Like
So
you supported Senate Bill 14, and I know you're working now on SB 1414. Can you tell us briefly, like, what is this form? It's about make sex trafficking of minor a serious felony in California.
Yes. So interestingly enough, when it comes to human trafficking, which, they've said is over a $15 billion industry worldwide.
Yeah.
And California, interestingly enough, is one of the biggest states that contributes to human trafficking. Senator Grove, and I have to give Senator Grove a big kudos and congratulations on bringing these bills forward, but she brought it to the attention of Californians with SB 14 last year, which would make human trafficking a felony because it was not considered a felony in the state of California. It was considered a misdemeanor, not a felony, but a misdemeanor. That bill was narrowed down to just in order for it to pass public safety, because they didn't want to pass this bill, the legislature that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
They didn't want to pass this bill, but what they did is they narrowed it down to just cover children 15 and under. And they said if a child is being human trafficked between the ages of 15 and under, then it will be considered a felony, but not according to a 3 strikes, I believe. I'm not sure I don't think the 3 strikes. SB 1414 is a continuation of that effort. That SB 14 addressed the selling of children. SB 1414 is the buying of children.
Oh, good.
So individuals,
so
adults.
It's a continuing.
It's continuing the other component, right? So in this particular bill, you have adults that purchase children for sex that would be classified, which blows my mind that would be considered a felony, not a misdemeanor. Very sad.
Senator, we need more interviews. Like, really, I can't stop asking you questions. And thank you. So, because of the time, finally, what is your vision for California, and how do you see your role in achieving that vision?
You know what? One, we need to have informed citizenry. I can't emphasize how important that is. Number two, as legislator, I really, really, I want the constituents to know, I want Californians to know that I understand how expensive it is to live in California. And I'm going to try my hardest to continue to advocate for the reduction of taxes in the state of California, which really have an impact on everything that we do. Continue to advocate for removing administrative what we call red tape, in order to do our business and for businesses to thrive in the state of California, especially our small businesses in California. Continue to advocate for education that's rigorous and really worthy of our children's potential. Not based on color, but based on potential of the human spirit.
Senator Ochoa Bogh, thank you for joining us today, and we wish you all the best with the upcoming election, and we'll see you soon again in our show.
Dahlia.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so grateful to be here. Thank you for your passion, your engagement in government in California, because there's not enough people like you so thank you for coming up and engaging and educating the Arabic community.
Thank you, Senator. And we wish we have at least 4 or 5 like you. Not okay, we don't want the 40, but at least 4 or 5 like you. You're the best. I really appreciate it. And thank you for coming. Every time we ask you, like, we really welcoming, and we are open to educate all the community and tell them all the truth. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Dahlia.
Thank you. شكرا أعزائي المشاهدين، يا رب تكون الحلقة النهاردة أفادتكم. طبعا السيناتور هي دلوقتي سيناتور كاليفورنيا وداخلة للمرة الثانية عن الديستريكت 19. يا رب تكونوا استفدتوا النهاردة، ونشوفكم في حلقة جديدة من حلقات مصدر ثقة.